Yes, welcome to the Stranger Things podcast, the finale, if you will, the post-mortem, if you will, where we do a bit of after-season talk about Stranger Things 2. What show do you mean? Oh, what? I've never heard of it. It's been a week. We all forgot. Hello, I'm Jacob Burrows.
And I am Jim Scampoli. I am so happy to be here as we bid a fond adieu to Stranger Things 2, because you can't just do 3 episodes on Stranger Things 2. You got to end on an even number. You need 4 episodes on Stranger Things 2.
Makes sense to me. Now, yes. There's something wrong with the video where you're completely frozen, just so you know.
Oh, my goodness.
Just a little side note there. But who knows what's up with that? It's spooky in the machine. Oh, everything in the machine. Yeah, we're going to talk about... this is... Hey, Jim, do you realize when you say you're going to fix something, everyone gets mad at you and yells at you on the internet? Have you noticed this? Now I can't hear Jim. Okay, this is going great. Oh, yeah. I seem to be alone on a broadcast. That's from my point of view. I'll keep this ball rolling. I don't mind. It's just kind of weird that there's no Jimbo here with me. I'm usually, throwing the ball his way. He's throwing the ball. There's literally like static on my screen right now. Anyway, I'm just gonna talk about Stranger Things, I guess, until he messages me. Stranger Things. I made a video called "How to Fix Game of Thrones." Everyone's yelling at me. Everyone's upset. Everyone's thinks, "Hey, why if it ain't broken, don't fix it." Yeah, you're the first person to comment that. Real smooth. Where the fuck is Jim? Jesus Christ. This is a weird one, guys. Oh, his computer crashed, but the broadcast is still going? That's technology we have, I guess. Oh my, this is getting edited later. But yeah, it is still live, even though he was hosting the stream. I don't know how that works. Okay, but for real though, I am going to talk about this because, hey, I can hold the show on my own. Don't ever say I can't. I got someone in the chat. Penny, what's up? Oh, you finished it last night. Perfect. Oh, you sent an email too? Jesus, it's like you and me, Penny. We're doing the show over here. Carrying it all. As always, am I right? Okay, so I made a video about Game of Thrones previously, and I was kind of deterred because it didn't get that much response that I was hoping after I spent, 70 hours on it. And then this week it kind of blew up a bit. So I've gotten to see a lot of positive stuff from that, also a lot of negative stuff from that, as it is in fact the internet, and the internet is full of weirdos and assholes. So a lot of them didn't like my title, How to Fix Game of Thrones. And, our title here is probably going to be How to Fix Stranger Things, or Stranger Things Post-Mortem. And that sounds pretty negative, but as you know, if you've had a chance to check out our previous Stranger Things episodes, we are completely on board with what's going on in Stranger Things. We just have some little quibbles. We just have fun with it, We like to imagine what's going on. So that's basically what we're doing here. 10 minutes ago. Perfect. That's from the chat. Yeah, there's a long email here. This is perfect. We're going to go over all the things that might be fixed, so to speak, in Stranger Things. But I think I am probably going to hold on a little bit, because if I start reading this stuff, I don't think Jim's read it. So we're just going to hold on a bit until he's back. This is quality. This is good stuff, you guys. Oh, gosh. Problem is, if I have a microphone in front of me, I don't stop talking. Oh, thanks, Peter. I don't know why I called you Penny. Your last name is Canny. I mixed them up in my head. I got stressed out. I was live. I was shooting from the hip. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. A lot of people seem to like it. But then if you say, how to fix blah, 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 ooh, people are not going to be on board. Anyway, I'm just vamping at this point. We're just hanging out. Oh, shows what you know. Join the video call. What up, Jim?
Oh, my goodness. I was just in the upside down, much like Will, but I somehow fought my way back, much like 11. A few minutes later, I found an exit. Oh, my goodness. I apologize, everyone. Did I miss anything great?
Yes, of course, and you'll get to listen to that later, as will everyone, how I just held it all together. Just like Mike, it's not like I didn't do anything like Mike for a fucking year. Yeah, so as I was saying, we got Peter in the chat who has sent in a Stranger Things email, so I feel like
Excellent.
why don't we just start with that, because we got a few feedback things here on how people could quote unquote fix Game of Thrones. Make sure we put quotes around this, otherwise people are gonna get mad as fuck. But this is the email Peter sent in. He said he loved the show and also loved this season of Stranger Things. Oh, he loves our show, even better. And great to listen to us make sense of everything that's going on and made it even more enjoyable. That's perfect. So here's some of his thoughts throughout the season. Okay, I'm just going to read this verbatim. So I don't think Stranger Things 2 really missed a beat from where we left off. When I watch a much talked about show like Stranger Things, I try to avoid spoilers entirely. So when I heard you guys say episode 7, The Lost Sister, was frowned upon, I was pretty surprised. But I should have known how fickle fans can be when episodes stray from the norm. It may well be my favorite of the season. It was really fun, and the moral dilemma Eleven comes to when killing that guy is a really great scene. I also enjoyed the dynamic between her sister, and the rest of the gang. I did think it was a bit weird that the gang was as diverse as it was. I get that they're outcasts from all walks of life, but it was almost like they checked off all the type of characters they needed for the gang. But episode 7 has had so much character development in such a short time that I really give that episode credit for that. What's your thought on that, Jim?
All I want to say is one of us, one of us. Like we
Yeah.
need to get our voices out there because this narrative that everyone hates episode 7 has been like the dominating narrative right now. So we need to let it be known so the Duffer Brothers don't get gun shy that like, hey, we enjoyed it. We welcome a little different tone, a little different take. I'm not saying it's perfect. Clearly it's not. There are definitely some issues there. Especially if you start getting into the whole X-Men vibe and whatnot. And I know a lot of people thought some of the actors left things to be desired. But I think there's a lot of potential, so I'm with it.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same reaction as you, Peter, since you said you were surprised. Or, well, I guess I saw it beforehand, but I guess I was surprised while watching it because being an internet comment type person, as I suppose I am, I guess I should keep up more with all what fresh hot bloggers are blogging about on their hot blogs, but I don't. So for me, it's like, it wasn't that different. And as we've discussed ad nauseum there, and will discuss post-mortem, post-nausea, we will discuss that I have more issues with Mike and the antagonist than anything going on in episode 7, so I'm on board with that. Peter also wrote, when Will finds out where the shed is when acting as a spy, why would he only send one demidog to kill them? Like, he thought one was enough? I thought they were surrounded, unless 11 killed the rest of them with ease. I just thought it was a bit anticlimactic. I was expecting this great battle about to happen. Yeah, what do you think, Jim?
Well, I thought that was kind of the point. I thought the point was that 11 did take out a few demodogs and then threw one through the window. Although maybe I'm misremembering details. It's been a couple of weeks since I saw it, but I thought there were a couple and she kind of took a few out and then one flew through the window and then she had her grand entrance at the front door.
Yeah, that's also what I thought. I will admit, I don't know if it was a great payoff. Like, obviously, it's great to have 11 back, but the whole buildup was like, oh no, the monster can't find out where we are. Then the monster finds out. He killed, like, 11 kills a few demodogs. Then kind of nothing happens there, and they stay, like, they keep the children here where the monster knows where the Will is still here. Because the monster wanted to get to Will, but they never really explained that either. The whole motivation of the bad guy is kind of unclear. Obviously, he's an eldritch horror, but yeah, we'll have more to say on that when we talk about how to quote unquote fix Game of Thrones. But yeah, that's not super clear. It's all for the payoff of L being back, but we already know that's happening. So I mean, it's a great moment, but yeah, I also guess that there were more dogs, but then just nothing comes of it, and they make a big deal about the monster not finding out where they are. Even after 11 leaves, they just kind of hang around. So yeah, it feels kind of like a nitpick when I'm saying it, but I see where you're coming from, and I see how you could read it that way. Let's see. The Billy fucking the Wheeler's mom scene was great. I was really rooting for the kid.
I disagree. I mean, I guess as a scene, like it's a funny enough joke. It's just why is it happening now? Especially like they've. I mean, I guess it gives a different element to Billy in a weird way, or I guess it adds to his over the top villainous that yeah, he's gonna fuck their mom to show them what's what or something. I don't know. I get it's a funny enough joke, and it's like she's reading the romance novel and all that. It's just I don't get why it's there.
Yeah, I guess it's for the goof. I mean, when I read that, I was like, "Shit, did I miss that he actually fucked her? Did they imply that?" But I don't think they did because he
Oh, is he saying
leaves.
that he did?
No,
He did.
well,
He didn't,
no.
in my understanding. It's just he got her all hot and bothered and left her with blue balls.
Well, yeah, he said I was really rooting for the kid. No, they definitely didn't do that. But hey, there's always next year. It's always next year, everyone. Another thing I give the show credit for is that they actually kill off our beloved Bob. I thought that took balls to do, especially with how likable they made him and all the trouble he went through to get out alive. Although you can kind of sense what was going to happen in the lead up to his death, I still was really sad about the whole thing. Again, I thought killing him took balls, not red wedding balls, but balls nonetheless.
Balls, balls.
Also, I didn't really think about the Hopper Joyce ship until you guys brought it up. Okay.
Well, I think, I mean, I don't know if this is my jaded TV mind. It's just that they made him that likable because they knew they were killing him off. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it kind of take balls, but it's kind of not really because he's a new character. So it was just like a premeditated thing. But now again, like this is me as a jaded like piece of shit looking at it.
Yeah.
Like you have the like you're looking at it in the right idea. Like you're like, oh man, like we spent time with this character and I really liked him, and then they just took him from me. So like that's good, and it shows that they kind of were successful. And you're right, like it does seem a little telegraphed in the moment for sure. But yeah, it just from my point of view, it's kind of more like, well, of course they killed him off, and of course they wanted to, they tried to earn that moment by like setting the stage previously. Which
Yeah,
I mean, just because
yeah.
you know how the sausage works doesn't mean it's a bad thing. So it's still, I mean, it's still effective.
Yeah, from all the behind the scenes stuff, we know that that character was invented to die. And then in true Stranger Things or yeah, TV manner, they liked him and they liked what was going on, and they saw how they could make him more likable before killing him, and so they did. They did like he was gonna be, you know, the horror movie trope of a girl who gets killed in the first part, and he even said he was going to be this season's Barb. And then they just kept him around a little bit longer. Although, I mean, I agree with what Jim was saying, that you have the right idea of it, and looking at it any other way is like, you tried to make me feel something, and you did. Ha! You tricked me. Like, yeah, no, that's why we're here. That's why we have this whole show, because we like that stuff. So yeah. So then we get on to stuff that could fix, quote unquote, the show. And Peter says, I think I'd take out the whole Nancy and Jonathan romance and instead spent that time on the 11 Sister Gang. I don't know about you guys, but the will they, won't they relationship made me hate both of them. Yeah, we talked about this. And like Jim said, every time they would cut back to them at the reporter's secret hideaway. Yeah, I guess the conspiracy theorist. I just wanted to get back to following someone else. That really ate up time, a lot of time for no reason. Also, Jonathan and Nancy are pieces of shit for hooking up, but the show wants to be cool with it. Steve is like the perfect guy, and she cheats on him, treats him like shitty, and never apologizes. Why the fuck would we as an audience be cool with that?
I think that endpoint's a great point, but I feel like they didn't anticipate that they were going to, like, they themselves I think have admitted that they fell in love with the Steve character, and that wasn't initially the plan.
Yeah.
So, but like clearly Jonathan and Nancy was always a plan as like the, you know, the outcast nerd and the crush he has on the girl, even though they made him like weird, like we brought up, they made him really creepy in the beginning, taking pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
But like they already had this endpoint set of like this relationship budding, but then they wanted Steve around more because they liked the actor and they liked what he was doing, and they kind of, I guess, like the idea of having this bully, but then make it seem like, oh well, he's just kind of a good guy like everyone else. So they kind of screwed themselves in that respect. Uh,
Yeah.
so it
And
doesn't like I think this point's really good because you're like, but wait, Steve's really nice and cool, and she just yells at him and says everything's bullshit. Although I guess they give them, do they give them kind of, no, not really, because Steve is like the pining good guy, right? In the
yeah.
shadows, like I'll let them be happy or whatever. So it's
Yeah.
a bizarre take.
Well, yeah, he's the best guy. He becomes at the end what Jonathan was supposed to be at the beginning, the pining Peter Parker looking after Spider-Man shooting off with his girl. Or no, well, not Spider-Man. You know what I mean.
I know what you
Fuck.
mean. Yeah, I gotcha.
He does say, however, Nancy redeems herself from all this by dancing with Dustin at the end. But fuck Jonathan, he's a spaz and a weirdo who spends too much time doting on his brother. I was hoping when they were coming out of the woods, Steve would just pop him in the face. Yeah, I mean that's a fair. Like Steve, even showing more how he's a good guy. You see your girlfriend come out of the woods with this guy, and you're just
Yeah.
you've been babysitting like his brother, and I was hoping, yeah. Billy and Jonathan were similar levels of villains in my eyes.
Well, the thing is, I like the Jonathan character as far as as far as it concerned with his family. Like he cares about his family a lot. Obviously, he's looking out for his brother. He's always looking out for his mom. He's the parental figure in the household. But yeah, this Nancy relationship does make him more like, I mean, not a villain, but I guess villainous a little bit, just between his creepiness and then like how now at this point he's stealing a girl from a good guy. So I guess I understand that. Back at towards the beginning when he mentioned I'd rather had spent time on 11 and her sister's gang. That is an interesting point. Like for the people that didn't like the episode, do you think they would have liked it more if it was more like we were just cutting to 11 during episodes and just seeing what she's up to, where it wasn't this whole, like it could still be the same story, but in the similar way that we're just following everyone on their path if it was just integrated within episodes?
Well, can you break down for me, like when people say it's bad, what are the reasons mainly?
Although I guess a lot of the reasons is they say, well, a lot of people say it kills momentum because it does, because we come off that cliffhanger and then we go on this side quest, which I get, but I also, like I said before, since it's a show that you could just watch the next episode anytime you want, I don't really care about that. It's not like they're making me wait a few extra weeks to see what's going on. It's up to me. I could just watch whatever I want. Although some people did say it's a different tone and jarring, so I guess maybe that wouldn't work well if you integrate it within an episode, because it's like killing some of the tones of the other storylines. Although I don't know, maybe it wouldn't.
For me, they made the right call doing it this way, because I mean, I can see the point of feeling like it being jarring and doing something completely different. And I think I've complained about that from other shows, but for me, it worked here. I guess it's because I like the material in the show, so that, I mean, or in the episode, so that means spreading it out probably wouldn't have helped for the people who didn't like it. They'd feel like we feel about Nancy and Jonathan. Why the fuck are we cutting to these hooligans in some city? It doesn't have anything to do with it. Maybe they'd feel like that.
Yeah.
So the ending was very wholesome and almost entirely happy, which may be lackluster for certain people, but I love that type of shit. The Nancy Dustin dance scene was relatable and just made me really happy. Even the Hopper Joyce smoke break warmed my heart. I think they are in a really good spot to pick up at season 3, and overall, I was pretty satisfied with the show. That's from Peter C.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked the ending and how it played out. And I think even if you're pretty cynical on the show, I think that like the dance stuff it's such a nice culmination of this journey and a nice reminder that these main characters we love are kids, and just seeing them in a more realistic kids moment. I've heard people say this before and I'd almost agree, where they're like, it kind of made me want to just watch a high school drama about them, and you don't have to worry about ghosts and monsters. You just get to like a Freaks and Geeks, but with the Stranger Things kids. And then I'm almost like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is from Jonathan, who is a regular listener and commenter, sending in his feedback, as you can do to showswhatyouknowshow at gmail.com or showswhatyouknow, with a U for the U, on Twitter. He let me know that he thought someone should have died earlier in the season to make it have more of that horror feel, because otherwise like he was like, yeah, it's fine if it were freaks and geeks, but it's supposed to be horror, and that's I think what they were planning to do with Bob, and then they ended up liking him and kept him around. So we actually didn't get anything like that, and that's probably part of why it felt like it didn't have that much momentum at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I could see that. I think that's a decent point. But I guess the trade off is like we were just talking about with the Bob character, is it wouldn't have mattered if they killed him early
Yeah.
because you just would have been like, all right, yeah, new character, they killed him, so what? Like, even though it would, I guess it's like a fake out sense that there are higher stakes, but if you're not going to really kill off someone of note, it's not going to, I don't know. It's not gonna have the same impact. So I guess that's the trade off. It's like, well, what do we do? Do we want to like spend some more time with this character, make the audience like him a bit more, or do we want to like really establish the horror elements? So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think they're.
Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm
Just
sorry to cut you
gonna
off.
say, Jonathan also said that like he felt Bob and Barb were like obvious victims brought in, and that's why he didn't feel like there were great stakes even with Bob dying, because all the good guy main characters felt a little too safe, and he felt like no one could have been surprised when they died. And
Yeah,
like,
but I
yeah,
guess that's kind of the trade off because people did respond to Barb, but they respond to Barb as like the goof way, and she
mm,
was killed off fairly early.
yeah,
So given that it was this, like, I guess you see examples of both between the two, between the first one and the second one, and you see the pros and cons of either one. And it kind of comes down to the fact of like, I mean, it's because otherwise it's like, what are you just gonna like kill Dustin?
yeah.
And you kind of can't really kill Dustin. So yeah, I mean, I feel like either way, if they're the more like obvious victims, I prefer what they did with Bob. And I guess the big thing that really sold it to me, like we talked about in the past episode, is when they're talking about how he like started the AV club and stuff. It kind of really hit it with the characters more and felt like a bigger loss than it probably was.
Yeah, and for me, I when we were talking about Game of Thrones, I was saying just because we want characters to maybe just we want there to be stakes, but we don't want Daenerys's head to be cut off in episode 2. And although people on YouTube disagree. Gotten a lot of comments this week along the lines of "cut her fucking head off," but I disagree, obviously. And I kind of forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, no, yeah, because the antagonist had bigger problems that wouldn't just be resolved by killing someone off. I felt, so even if that happened, that might set more of the mood. But for me, like the motivation was so diffuse, as we mentioned, that I think that affected it more. The whole sense of danger.
Yeah, yeah, and I know we kind of went into it a bit. Like it was never clear. Like it was kind of clear that Will had a connection just because he was stuck in the upside down and was in like that cocoon or whatever they had to pull him out. But it was never clear why like the mind flayer wanted Will. Was it just solely for the spy? But then for the spy, like what does he gain from this kid? So you're right. Like we don't really have an idea. I mean, you can kind of try to build something like I assume like the mind flayer would eventually be doing that to like just kind of taking over everyone type thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just guessing.
Well, yeah, that's my main kind of thought that might, like, I think we're just going to have a general talk about Stranger Things, and that's going to be this episode. So I'm going to get back to Jonathan's feedback in a moment. But I felt like if the antagonist, like, there's a twist kind of in the middle, or, yeah, towards the end, before we go to episode 7, where Will sent all those soldiers to die. But it, like, and that's the reveal that, like, he controls Will. But I felt like in general, it would have helped if the antagonist was really searching for some specific goal and like not just make the hole bigger so more monsters can get through. Or if that is its goal, there needs to be something concrete they can do to achieve that. Like, for example, when those vines snare up the sheriff when he's down there dig-dugging and he gets caught up. Like, what was the point of that? Like, I like that as a thing, but then he just kind of gets away. And it would have been nice if we find out, yeah, no, if you ensnare someone, then this happens, then that happens, then they can reach their goal. Like, it would be nice if this thing seems so big and evil that it's like, no, it can't possibly have a goal that it's working towards. It's just an evil like force of nature. We can't comprehend it. But then towards the middle of the season, maybe it would turn out all these different things it's done with the tunnels and everything. It's all been towards reaching one and the same goal. And I'm not completely sure what that would be, but maybe the tunnels are like their way of trying to reach 11. Like maybe they all go to that cabin or whatever because it knows that 11 is the thing that can open the hole wider or something like that. I'm not completely sure, but just giving it something like that would make it feel more dangerous, and it would have been a nicer twist than just having Will be a spy, which would let us kill off a few soldiers and then have it attacked by demidogs that don't feel that dangerous without like a force guiding them.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. And especially like since it seems that they were saving the idea that the mind flayer knows about 11, like
Yeah.
if they had just done something to make it seem like this was all about 11 this season, it kind of would have made more sense. And it was just about the mind flayer trying to get her power. But from what the Duffer Brothers have said, like, no, the last shot of Stranger Things 2 is the mind flayer being like, I see you, 11, and I see your power. But it's just weird because they just kind of wanted to save it. So,
well, that would make sense, but why not make Will the character then? Because you already have this connection, you have all this stuff going on. Have him have a clear motivation for trying to get into Will's brain and do all that stuff. Because it kind of seems like he wants Will to be like his parrot on the shoulder of him being a pirate. Like Will's going to be his evil mascot or something. That seems to be the goal. But since Will has been in the Upside Down, he can carry something with him that can be more than just, Dart the demidog. He can actually be somehow the key to open it up. And then maybe at the end of the season, it gets closed. But at that point, the antagonist has found out about 11, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I just figured either way, like what you said, or even if it was just Will was its only connection to try to get in with these kids to find more about 11. But, either way.
Yeah, it could also work. So Jonathan also agreed with us about the editing. His number one fix would be to hire a different editor or whoever it is that's deciding to cut in these flashbacks that destroy the scenes. It started a little bit in season 1, but it feels like season 2 had one in every episode. When 11 was closing the gates in the last episode, I really hoped they wouldn't ruin the scene by cutting in a flashback of 8 teaching her how to use her power of anger. But of course they did the most obvious thing possible, and the scene was ruined for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it, and I gotta agree. It's because for all this talk, like I've seen the headlines or whatever about how, shows like Stranger Things are changing the landscape on how we consume entertainment or how you can make a TV show. But when you see stuff like that, it just shows they don't trust the audience to know what's going on, even when it's widely understood that most people are going to watch this whole this thing you've worked on for a year. They're going to consume it in a day or two, and they're going to forget about it. So they're in there. They're already in this world. They've followed this story. You don't have to throw in these things to say like, "Hey, dummy, remember when she used her power and her anger?" Now the other side of it, when they kind of I don't really mind having some flashes in that moment because it's her culmination or whatever, but I don't need something from an hour ago that I just watched. Like when it's like her and her friends, or even like just younger her and Papa, and maybe seeing how Hopper's like a real father figure, like stuff like that, when it maybe just kind of spells out more of a character moment rather than like, I remember my anger. So there's like a fine line. Like I'm not against that moment having a few flashes of what's going on in her head, but when it becomes the obvious, like, remember when you moved a truck? Well, you could probably close this thing.
Yes. Well, I mean, Jonathan suggests that they fire the editor, but I suspect that this was a choice from the Duffer Brothers because I cannot imagine Netflix coming in and saying, "No, you must have the iconic flashbacks from season one, but more this time." And I honestly think they added it because the climax is kind of weak. And again, we like Stranger Things too. Don't get it twisted, but it's not a super strong climax. And as you were saying, I think they added it to give it more of a sense of this being a culmination of things coming together. And I'm not completely sold on that being earned. That, like, what was it that she learned that helped her close the portal at the end? Like, what change did she go through? Sure, she let go of some of her anger because she didn't kill that guy, and she grew up a bit. But how does that relate to her power becoming stronger and closing it? Like, is it the power of love, or what is it? Should it have been flashes of Mike and him getting consumed, or that she's seeing it and she's afraid of that, and that it's trying to control her with fear, but she's fighting back because her friendship and status more powerful? I'm not sure, but just cutting in whatever, it felt like a mishmash of, just cut in whatever during
Yeah.
whatever scene, and then it just gets distracting.
I mean, I'd like to think of it as, and I mean, I'm filling in gaps on my own, but I'd like to think this could be confirmed depending on where they go with future stories. But it's harnessing trauma and like how using that trauma either for good or bad. But I'd like to see them explore that a bit more and see how, like, yes, your trauma won't define you, and you can use that to be a better person, but also explore like how that could make you a bad person.
Yeah.
But again, like, that's me. I'm trying to fill that in. I'm trying to make sense of it because I enjoy it and I want it to be better than it is. So
Mm, yeah. So another thing from Jonathan was he thought the first episode was bad, and that he barely wanted to keep watching because it felt so all over the place. Like, he didn't understand why they felt they needed to visit all the characters again in the same episode. It could have been more spread out, and the episode could have needed more focus of you setting up a new mystery or something similar to get your interest back and to get you to keep like a hook, basically. He suggested that the first episode could have been maybe a bottle episode about Will. His family and friends could obviously have been there, but Will could have been an obvious main character because another one of his points was that there's no clear main character in season two. It's kind of similar to Netflix's Orange is the New Black, where there was a clear protagonist in the first season who got less and less importance as the show went on. What did you feel about the first episode, and if we needed some more clear main character?
I don't. That doesn't really jump out to me. I don't remember that. I do remember being like 2 episodes in and being kind of like, okay, like, where are we going with this? But it didn't really jump out to me that that was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting. It probably would have been a better take, maybe, to be a little bit more focused in the first episode to kind of still, like, because it keeps you on your toes, setting up a new mystery, and it also is like, ooh, what about everyone else? What's everyone else up to? Although I get it from this point of view of, like, we kind of had a bottle episode in episode 7 and everyone hated it. I can only imagine what people would have said if it was like we didn't see like everyone in the first episode. Even though, again, my biggest argument is that, like, since these shows are so different, it's not quite a TV show, so it's not, there's not usually a lot of like, oh, this episode was great.
Yeah.
It's more like this storyline was great.
Yeah, it's almost because they separated seven so clearly that it sticks out to people and they can say, I didn't like episode seven. Because otherwise, people would be saying, I didn't like that storyline if it was more spread out. Now, I like the first episode, but I still like see the merits of maybe doing it a bit more focused, especially as far as getting a very clear hook and focus on one character, like maybe Will waking up and like going through his day, what his day is now. And like, yeah, obviously he's going to meet the other characters and stuff, but we identify clearly with him and set up that his battle is what we're going to go through. Now, I think if they do that, they couldn't have Will be evil for like three fourths of the show or the episode, the season, because they would need to have some way where he's more clearly fighting against this evil, either like physically or inside himself in some dreamscape in the upside down, or whichever way. Because if he's the main character, he can't be also like the creepy child that you have in every horror story. He needs to be able to fight it as well. Another obvious choice would be Mike, of course, since he's the main character in season one, and he definitely needed more to do. I'm not sure if he should have been like the sole focus, because he is like, I understand why he was sidelined, but I basically agree with what Jonathan's saying, even if though I did like episode one.
Yeah, but the thing is, like I was saying before, it's like everyone liked season one or Stranger Things one, but if I'm like, hey, you remember episode 3, Holly Jolly? Do you remember what you loved about that episode? It's like, well, no one,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
one talks about this really episodic. And I know you could kind of say that about a lot of shows, but this is at least a show that specifically tells you the title at the beginning of each one. So it's a little bit more of an argument to say that if you mention the title of an episode, you should kind of know it, because most shows it's like they don't even broadcast that. It's just like, here's episode 4 of season 3. But I don't know. I just think since it's not supposed to really be episodic, I'm not against that. But yeah, it was very clear that the first few episodes of this was, I don't want to say aimless, but it was kind of like, here's everybody, let's check in, and here's what they're doing, here's what they're doing. I think at the very least, since the kids are the big draw of this show, it would have to be either, I would say, either an episode about 11 on it. The only character I could see being on her own would be 11.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
if anything about the kids, then maybe it'd be about the group of kids going on a small adventure before we see everyone else. I can't really see. I mean, I guess your argument for a Will episode makes sense because we didn't get to learn a lot about him, and he has such a connection to the Upside Down. But anything else, I feel like they have to be together. But that's just
Yeah. I mean, bottle episode's probably the wrong term for it. For me, all I would have wanted would be more of like a unified hook, maybe. And this is almost like, I like the first episode so much, so I'm kind of taking into consideration what people have said about like the unfocused hook of like 3 different things being what we're supposed to care about, and people not liking the whole arcade storyline, who's got the high score and stuff like that, is kind of what I'm taking into consideration and saying, well, maybe if we set something up more clearly. And also, Holly Jolly is a great episode. I'm on the Stranger Things wiki. It's where we get the Christmas lights for the first time, and Barb dies. Oh my gosh, yeah, great episode.
Yeah, actually, I mean, it does kind of prove the point, because I forgot that there was a thing with the who was better on the arcade.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and I mean, I guess another ding against that is like they spend that episode really kind of being like, Max, who's Max? What's Max? And then here we are at the end, and it wasn't really a big deal. Who gives a shit? Like, you could have still done that, but in the first, I guess you're right, in the first episode, that being a mystery kind of had no real payoff whatsoever.
Yeah, and speaking of mystery, we have feedback as well from Javan Urna on YouTube, who commented that the lack of mystery in Stranger Things 2, mystery was really important in season 1. I think it's pretty much in the title of the show, in my opinion, because they didn't bother with any mystery this season. It could have been fixed by having 11 kill Max, put her in a crucial condition earlier in the season, and then the show would most be dealing with that, covering up the murder, etc., with the subtext of alien siege. I didn't read this beforehand. Just like American Horror Story, Asylum, escaping the institution was the main plot, while aliens and Satan was the subtext. What do you think, Jerm?
Well, I mean, I agree with the initial point that I mean, I get there's somewhat mystery because there's still kind of like, what's Will's connection, even though at the end we really still don't know. I guess his connection is just that he was there once, which is fine. But I agree with the initial point that, yeah, there maybe should have been a little bit more mystery surrounding what's going on to drive the season. I don't know necessarily about like alien invasion and all that stuff that they were talking about, but
Well, also, alternatively, they could have actually built on the mystery this season and established the context of the Mind Flayer's lore. It's still not established whether or not the show has spiritual slash mythological roots or whether they're aliens. We should know a bit more about them by season 2. Had we found out those answers in more of Will's visions while he was possessed, that could have fixed the series. Yeah, as you were saying, the alien stuff, I think that was like you comparing it to someone else, not necessarily saying there's going to be an alien siege, I assume. But yeah, that's the mystery lacking because we've already done this shit, kind of, what's going on in all of Stranger Things 2. Like, discovering the Upside Down, we didn't know what that was in season 1. That was a huge thing. Like, where is Will? How can he be here and not here? And obviously, we have, like, intertextual hints of having like seen other stuff and Stephen King and everything and parallel dimensions. Like, we have those thoughts, but we discovered all of that and the characters discovered all of that. And this season, the mystery is, I guess, what's Dart? We know he's a monster from the Upside Down. Yeah, it's kind of a twist when he turns out to be a Demogorgon, but then they make them adorable dogs anyway. Like, there's no mystery for us, the viewer, really, except, like, what are those vines for? And in the end, the vines are for nothing. They're there because it's spreading out. If they were there for a reason, that would make it a mystery, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of, we touched upon this in the past episode, but they could have spent more time. They could have done more with the Dart thing and even had it longer as like a, an ugly cutesy type thing, or had it be kind of the gizmo of demo dogs, but
Yeah.
or like it's a little longer and the kids bond with it more before we have that reveal of like it killed the cat and it's a demo dog, and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, I mean, there's a few things, and like, it's also a double-edged sword where it's like they could have explored more about what's going on, but then also part of the hook is better that, like, it's never better once we know, like, if we know exactly what's going on with the Upside Down and all that. But they could have used the scenes of the scientists telling us the obvious shit, like when it burns the sand or whatever. They could have used scenes like that to at least told us a little bit more, like something unique or a little bit more to latch onto about what's going on without fully explaining and making it, boring.
Yeah, I guess it's about the learning curve because we're ahead of the characters. So by the point they bring out like the blowtorch, we're ready for you to tell us something new. But instead, you tell us what we've already seen, that Will is connected to it. Like, that was the end of the previous episode. So instead, you could have told us something mechanically interesting, and like Javan was saying about like the lore, getting a bit more into that. Like, yeah, we know there's a big monster that controls the little monsters, but and it doesn't like heat. But yeah, there's if you're gonna stay here and not make it any type of anthology or not make it X-Men, we probably should have gotten a little bit more of that, maybe. Well, speaking of which, what I think we should move on to, what are your hopes and dreams for season 3 of Stranger Things? Unless you had other stuff to say about possible fixes.
No, I think that's fine. I do feel like it's okay to keep, like, the Upside Down obviously isn't going anywhere. It's still going to be a part of the show, as it should, but it should probably take more of a back seat for Stranger Things 3. And that's why I know, like, we talked about the idea of Papa being alive was kind of a bit much, but making like maybe a little bit more grounded or different type of villain is probably a little bit more welcome. And they could maybe even use him as some story dump on what the Upside Down's goal might be, since he was kind of the head evil scientist, and he might have a little bit more insight into what's going on. I think 11's clearly going to be the key to whatever Stranger Things 3 is, whether it has to do with her joining the X-Men or not, that's kind of fine with me, because I want 11 with the group more, because it didn't serve that well to have them separated. So I'm looking forward to seeing the group together, and maybe some of her stuff driving the plot as far as her powers and how powerful she is, and also being probably still, even with her friends and family keeping her grounded, being a bit unhinged because of what she had to go through at a young age.
Yeah, and we joke about X-Men, but she is going to be starting in this school in a convenient time span from now, about a year from now. She's going to be starting at the school. What a coincidence! And she's like gonna she's gonna be going to a school and hiding her superpowers, which is such a like well trodden path that I can't help but look forward to it and what they're going to do with it, because I know, or yeah, at least I assume they're not going to do the obvious stuff with it, because it has more of an influence from Stephen King than from Spider-Man. And her going to a school and having powers, like I think that's what one of those commenters was saying about, hey, you know, have her fucking kill Max or something, like have it spin out of control. And I don't think necessarily something like that is exactly what should happen, that she like she has so much power, like that's almost feels like well trodden ground as well. But there's definitely interesting stuff to be done there, and that's also you know why I was on board with like, yeah, I didn't love Papa being back necessarily, but I definitely see your point of us needing something between the level of eldritch horror and these school kids. Like those, that's the conflict, and there's no connection points between them for them, so no conflict is happening. The connection point is Will saying creepy stuff, and that's been about it. So I definitely see the point in bringing back more of an authority that, and having just generally more factions that can kind of play off against each other. And whether 8 goes, 8 comes to Hawkins, or whether we discover what's going on with the other numbers, because that seems like an obvious thing. Now we get number 3 because it's Stranger Things 3, ha ha ha, stuff like that. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with all that. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to it. Just give me some new already. And I hope there's always these rumors every time these freaking shows come out. But although I guess it's been proven true with Westworld, is that it's going to be well, I guess we're getting closer, but it's already been a year at this point, right? Because they're already saying like we may not get Stranger Things next year. It might not be till 2019 or something. And it's like, come on, you're making 8 episodes. Let's make these episodes already. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't feel the same because, well, if it's in the start of 2019, I'm fine with it. I agree with you if it's like Halloween 2020, and it's like, fuck off. They're gonna be like, they're gonna be fucking accountants by season 5. They're not gonna be kids anymore. But yeah. So what's the deal with the Westworld? That's a side note. Do we have any, like, when the fuck is that coming out?
That's a question. Do they have a promo yet or something? I know I've been hearing more rumblings about Westworld season 2, so I feel like it's at least in the near future.
I hope so.
Trying to find an article. It's probably clickbait that's like, we don't know yet.
Yeah, don't you love when you Google, like, when's this coming out? And they're like, oh, the latest data. And then, like, there is none. But hey, we don't tell you until the last paragraph.
Okay, Evan Rachel Wood tweeted on the 6th, so less than a week ago, but it's still vague, spring 2018. So we're still a little ways off.
Okay. Well, that sounds all right. I did want to mention it was more of a goof, I think, but Jonathan also suggested each episode could open with a cold open where you see something from, like, someone's life and you don't really know who it is, like, new character, and then in the end it all comes together because episode 1 is about 1 and episode 2 has 2, and this is all before, like, the intro plays, and then we go to the regular characters, but we just see glimpses of these, and then we figure out they have powers, and then it comes together where all the crew of these fucking 11 people go together. So I think that was a goof.
I think that's called Sense 8. I think that's Sense 8. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Stranger Things podcast.com is of course your source of all.
Hold on. I got one more thing. One more thing. I know we kind of talked about this off mic, but I sat down and did it this morning. Now, Stranger Things rips a lot from Stephen King, obviously. I mean, there's obviously Spielberg as well, but Stephen King and even notably It. Now, the big thing about It is that we have the kids when they're young, and then we have grown-up versions of it. So I went and casted my own grown-up Stranger Things.
Perfect.
Now, it's not... I tried to keep it within reason, not like, Chris Pratt and Jake Gyllenhaal and this and that. Like, get all the biggest stars ever that you could get.
Okay.
Although, I mean... for 11, we'll say, and this is an obvious choice, but probably not a get that they could get. Natalie Portman is clearly grown up 11. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but you're gonna blow most of the budget on that. But I'm fine with that, I guess. You don't have like a nice. You can't pull up the image just next to each other, or even make them morph into each other. Do we have that technology?
I can make it. I don't have it right here live.
Nah, that's
Let's see.
fine
Let's just
then.
I'll pull up a picture of Natalie Portman. It's clearly a grown-up 11, and I was
Yeah.
kind of looking in the age range of like late 30s, early 40s, basically, is what I was.
So you're saying that Seth Rogen at age 35 is a perfect Dustin, in other words.
Yes, in a lot of ways. I did stay away from that. I was looking at. Let me pull up Natalie Portman. So there
James Franco is fucking Will. Yeah, no, she. If you're on the video feed, you can see that she is 11. So
we go.
Natalie
She's grown
Portman's
up
11.
11. Clearly,
Yeah.
that's what we're going for. Well, actually, let me pull up pictures then. Let me pull up some pictures real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I should have already had this, although I did get sucked into the Upside Down, so we know what happened there with all the pictures and prep I did beforehand.
Well, that's another one of the reasons why I'm not upset necessarily if we get Stranger Things 3 in like a year and a little bit, because they'll have time to get their pictures in order and everything like that, and maybe they'll be able to figure out some well, I mean, this is more of a serious note, but I agree with what Peter said, that they're in a really great place right now as far as what's going to happen next, because last time they did kind of throw shit in the air at the end of the season, and then now at the start of Stranger Things 2, I was like, oh, catch this, catch that, what the fuck? And now it's kind of like they could do anything in season 3, at least as far as where the characters are right now. They've set up a lot of stuff where they haven't painted themselves into any corners, basically, so they could do whatever, which is a great place to be since they have so much to draw on, and they're really great creative people. Who else have we got on the age machine?
Well, I'm trying to pull up pictures of the characters now as well. I'm going I'm fucking going there.
Yeah.
So, well, I was looking at Will. All right, Will Byers. This picture of Will Byers. I know I'm fucking zoomed out here.
Yeah, we got a picture of Will Byers here.
My
Clearly a young Elijah Wood. No, what were you saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, he is kind of like a baby face, right?
Yeah. He's a child man.
For Will Byers' grown-up version, it's not necessarily 2017, but say like 2010. We're going Stranger Things 2010. Remember the good old days that we were still being nostalgic. I'm going Jason Ritter, my dudes. Jason Ritter is a grown-up Will Byers. Fight me. Don't even at me if you think that's not correct.
I mean, that's pretty good. Is it mostly like the hair that made... Well,
it's just the vibe. I'm just getting the vibe off him. He's just a baby face. Because I think even he's like older than a lot of people, but look at him. Look at how young he looks.
He played Dip. Yeah, I mean, and he did Dipper on Gravity Falls. That's like 1 year ago that finished. So that's a kid person. That's the voice. But I mean, he can do a Will voice, right? Will's never going to get through... Will's never going to get through puberty, I'm afraid, at this point. So his voice is going to be the same.
Let me pull up. We also got... Of course, we have Lucas. Lucas, the young black child.
Yep.
I'm going for Lucas, Anthony Mackie, my dudes.
Oh, shit.
Falcon himself from Captain America. And I know that might seem, he's in Marvel movies. No, but what else is he in? He's not a big star. He's not a huge star, but he's a big name. I think he's totally gettable for Stranger Things.
He is pretty good. That's pretty good. I thank you for not going, Smith on it.
What, like
Thanks,
Will Smith?
Jaden, because he'll be older by then.
Yeah.
Like, I assume we're not doing this right now, or maybe we are, or maybe we're doing it in 2010.
Like season 4 or something, and they're like, we're gonna have some flashes. I'm saying if they were doing it in the near future.
You're saying if they go into Back to the Future, they go for the full enchilada of 80s references and they get in a fucking DeLorean. Or, no, they don't get in a DeLorean, but they explain it by watching by watching Back to the Future. And then they draw...
You're acting like it's so crazy, but meanwhile, they're going into other dimensions. You realize this, right?
No, I'm not saying it's crazy. I'm just saying instead of drawing out a Dungeons and Dragons manual, they draw out fucking Back to the Future, and they look at Doc during the timelines, and then they draw their timelines. It's going to be great.
Now, Dustin is a tough one, honestly. I mean, the obvious, of course, is Seth Rogen, I guess.
But I like Seth Rogen. Who doesn't? But how are you going to look at that and not see Seth Rogen? How are you going to see Dustin? What are they going to do to his hair to
I think
fix?
I think that's kind of selling Dustin short in a way by saying that
Yeah,
Rogan. You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's of course Dustin. Actually, do I have like I had two options for this.
Hmm.
Let me pull it up and see. I'm going the other way. The thing is, yeah, everyone like that every hunk starts out as probably some lovable little kid. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
You see it all the time. Those kids grow into hunks. Let me see here. I got to find the picture. Okay, here's
Hmm.
one.
It's going to be hunky. I can already taste it.
I'm saying James Marsden as one choice here.
Oh shit.
James Marsden from he was Cyclops in X-Men.
Hmm.
He's also in a little movie called Disturbing Behavior back in the day. I don't know what else he's in. Oh, he's
I
on
mean,
Westworld. We were just talking about Westworld.
oh right. Oh yeah, he's the guy. Yeah. You are like even just more versed. You're just pulling people where I don't pull Seth Rogen as an insult. I'm like, who looks kind of like that? I don't know, Seth Rogen. And like I'm not or insult so hard. Now I'm insulting Seth Rogen. But I agree. It's that guy. Well, who's the other option?
Well, James Marsden. Let me just show it again real quick. Here's James Marsden. Here's Dustin. James Marsden, Dustin.
I
Absolutely.
can't. I can't even tell which one is which. It's like A or B, A or B. I'm like, I don't. Am I wearing glasses? Am I not? What's happening?
All right, let me blow you away again here.
Wait, another one on Dustin, or where are we doing?
This is my other Dustin. This is
Okay,
my
I'm
other.
gonna counter you with another Dustin offer after you've done your second one, though.
Okay, so here we go. Let me remind you again. Here's Dustin. Of course, we all know the lovable Dustin from Stranger Things, and
Hmm.
here Dustin growing up when we flash forward in time to see like what everyone's up to in the 2010s and how the events of Stranger Things have affected them now that they're adults.
Yeah.
Ryan Phillippe. Ryan Phillippe.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I
Who's
mostly
the
was just
fuck
looking
is
for
that?
people with curly hair.
Yeah, yeah, I can tell. Who's this person? What's he in?
Ryan
What's?
Phillippe, he was in Cruel Intentions.
Hmm.
He was in. You never saw Cruel Intentions? I guess that.
Hmm.
What
No,
else
I
was he
did
in? He
not.
was in Crash.
Crash. Yeah.
A
Well,
movie, a movie won an Oscar.
it.
Uh,
Well, yeah. Don't remind me.
he's in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Okay. I mean, he looks. I'm gonna have to. I like your first pick better, honestly. If we're picking sides. Although,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean that
yeah.
is my first pick, but I'm just saying Ryan Phillippe is very passable.
Right. Right. Let me see here. What did I have here? Well, all right. So get this, Jim. They got
Yep.
the DeLorean, like the evil dimension DeLorean, all hooked up, and they're trying like, okay, we have to get to the future to stop the upside down. Instead, they accidentally send Dustin to the past, and Dustin, grown up in the present, played by Sean Astin. Yep, that's right. He was Bob all
Sean
along.
Astin. Holy shit.
Yep, he was Bob all along. That's why it's a paradox. That's why it's going to be even more likable. He's going to be when he dies for the second time, having protected them, having gone back in time and started the AV Club from technology from the future. Yes, that's right. He accidentally gets sent into the past.
He looked up to him that much, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna be him. I'm gonna be
Well,
that dude.
I don't think it was intentional, but yeah, I mean, I'm just saying he gets sent back in time when they try to, he gets touched by the flux capacitor monster, and sometimes that's what life gives you. Lemonade. You make Astonade.
Well, now I mean for the final character here, of course we have Mike Wheeler, the de facto leader in season one, and the will they won't they of Mike and 11. Let me pull him up here for the chat to remind everyone. Here's Mike Wheeler. Now, the tough thing with this is because Finn Wolfhard, the actor, he's also in It. So everyone's been casting. He plays Richie Tozer in It, and everyone's been casting. What's his face for It Part 2? The guy from SNL. Why am I not? I'm spacing on his name. So I kept seeing him because everyone's been casting him as the grown-up version. I'm sorry, people. I should have already had this. He was in that Amy Schumer movie, Trainwreck. Let me look it
Yeah,
up.
I'm the wrong person to have this conversation with. You know, he was in that movie.
How
I'm
are
like,
you not
yeah.
consuming movies? Oh, Bill Hader. A lot of people
Oh,
were picking Bill Hader for It, which makes sense because his character Richie in It is a little different. He's more of like the class clown. He's always cracking jokes and swearing and doing kick-ass stuff. But you can't really go that. It's not the same. He's not the same as Mike's character. He's not Mike from Stranger Things, and that speaks to the versatility of a Finn Wolfhard that he could
sure.
play Richie Tozer and he could play Mike. But so what I'm going here's my pick for grown-up Stranger Things, grown-up Mike Wheeler. You got to go with Milo Ventimiglia, or however you say his last name. That's right. Jess himself from Gilmore Girls is grown-up Mike Wheeler. Get at me. Don't even at me.
Hmm. It is a good pick. I mean, obviously, it's Gilmore Girls, so I know what you're talking about this time. It's Jess, and he's probably even gonna like he's when was the character of Jess born in the Stranger Things universe? I mean, I guess it's in early 2000s. When did Gilmore Girls start? I'm just saying he could
I think
be.
2000.
Yeah, yeah, and he's kind of in his teens,
Well,
so
he's. I mean, the actor himself is 40 right now.
what the fuck are you talking about? Okay.
40.
Oh shit. Yeah, I guess
Let me
that's what happens at
double check.
times.
Yeah, he was born in 1977.
Fuck me. I
He just turned
mean,
40 in July.
I guess he's the right age then, more or less. They're like 10. Well, he's even too
I mean,
young
he's a
then.
little younger, yeah. But like I said, if we're going Stranger Things 2010, though, he's fucking there.
Yeah, and it's great because by the time this gets out, we're even gonna have nostalgia about 2010. It's already
Exactly.
2017. So that's perfect.
He was actually a tough one to pick, but
Yeah.
I gotta say, Milo Ventimiglia, grown up Mike Wheeler. Tell me who's better. Tell me someone better. I dare you.
No, you're right. Good job. Good job, Jim. I believe it. I believe your picks. And I mean, doesn't it seem kind of inevitable? Maybe not season 3, but maybe, Stranger Things 5. This time it has time travel. Like, it seems like it could happen.
But the thing is, it doesn't need to be time travel because the show's a period piece. It just
Hmm.
is. It doesn't need to be time travel. It's just like, okay, in this new season, it's not 1985. Like, it's not like we did a time travel from the end of Stranger Things 1 to Stranger Things 2 to get to 1984. It was just 1984 now. So if
Yeah,
you're like, guess what? Now it's 2005. What will these characters look like? Here they are. Bang. Done.
well, you're right. It doesn't have to be time travel, but it is going to be time travel. That's what I'm saying. You're right. That could happen. Although, yeah, the actors are just going to age up at some but maybe if you're right and just TV comes out slower and slower, maybe they will be 20 in Stranger Things 6. Well, 20. No, they'll be older. They'll be fucking 40 in 20 Stranger
Well,
Things
see, but
6.
you keep getting hung up on them aging with themselves. I'm just saying, if next year they're not kids anymore, now it's taking place in present day. Like, you're not going to sit around and wait for the characters to. You're not going to wait for these actors to get old. You're going to cast an older actor to be the character. You know that TV and real life are different, right?
I know that TV and real life are different, but do you know what would happen to Stranger Things if they did that? They're like, okay, let's kill our best show by taking out, like, that's why they didn't make it an anthology in the 80s. They were like, we have all these great characters that people love. And then it's like, well, let's just even not make it the 80s anymore and have old people in
But
it.
that's the thing. But
Perfect.
I'm not even saying that that would be the whole show. You could do both, right? Like, you could have things inform, like, because that's the whole thing. Like, when they're making It 2, they're not going to wait for all these actors to be 25 years older. They're going to get older actors to play them, and then they're going to have cuts to when they were kids.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one of us
Get
who
the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Well, I'm the only one of us who watched that comedy pilot, Me, Myself, and I. The one where he was in the past and in the future and in the present. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
And it wasn't that great. Didn't really have legs. I see what you're saying. It's possible. I
In
don't
that
think it would be
show,
that good.
how many monsters or alternate dimensions were in that show?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they have that, like, yeah, show the past, show the present, and then at the middle of the season, you show the wormhole that fucking connects them, okay? Let's take this all the way.
Unless it's like we get to the point, like the movie It, by the way, where they defeat the big bad. They're like,
La
everything.
la 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 la. Didn't watch it
And
yet.
then
La la la.
guess what? they wake up when they're older and it's like, it's not done. Oh my God. We have to remember what we did as kids so we could defeat it now as we're adults.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's very specific. That might be what happens, though. It's a Stephen King thing. Makes sense, I guess. I
It
think
was
this
just,
episode's over, Jim.
I know. It was just a silly thing. And you're fighting me at every angle. You're fighting me at every angle on this, just doing a silly dream casting. God damn you.
I like your Dreamcast. It's very nice. And I'm just saying we need a wormhole. I try to put wormholes in most of my stories if it's at all possible, and Stranger Things makes that possible, so why not utilize it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Put some wormholes in there.
Nice.
All right, so Stranger Things podcast.com or showswhatyouknow.com is where you can find the show. You can, of course, subscribe on iTunes, and if you recommend a show for us to watch, on an iTunes review, then we're going to watch that show. So, and do an episode on it. We got some episodes coming up on those very themes. And, of course, you can always contact us through our own projects, jimandthem.com for Jim and Them, and awesomepedia.org for my shit. That's about it, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Thanks. Peace. Oh, shoot. I got to close out.